What's going on, everyone? Let's talk about the Sixers, Lakers, Pistons three-team trade in which the Lakers wouldn't have to give up any first-round picks. This trade looks like it originally stemmed from Doc Llewellyn. I'm not very familiar with Doc. I don't know how credible this is. I don't know if this was just a idea that was thrown out there, but it's being moved around like this was a discussion and that this is something that is potentially in the works to happen. But basically, the trade essentially breaks down as this. Pistons receive Russell Westbrook plus picks, likely, I would imagine, from the Sixers or maybe a couple seconds from the Lakers, something along those lines. Lakers would get Tobias Harris and Korkmaz, and then the Sixers would receive Nerlens Noel, Marvin Bagley, and then Bojan Bogdanovic. LA does not want to trade their first round picks per hashtag NBA, right? So again, Doc Llewellyn is the one that looks like it originated from. And in this trade, I mean, the Pistons part of it is pretty straightforward. They get Russell Westbrook and then picks, again, probably from the Sixers. And the Sixers, they would get Nerlens Noel, Marvin Bagley, Bojan Bogdanovic. Personally, I think out of this trade, I think that the Sixers are the ones that are making the most, right? They get Nerlens Noel, Marvin Bagley, and Bojan Bogdanovic. Now, yes, the Lakers might not have to give up any firsts, and we'll dive into the Lakers side here in a second, but, I just think, you're better off giving up first. I would rather have Nerlens Noel, Marvin Bagley, and Bojan Bogdanovic, personally, and give up, say, one first-round pick. Because the Sixers have this treasure trove of picks and stuff, and they're going to give up, 3 first rounds or something crazy like that. We should be able to match the picks in that regard. So why wouldn't we go after the Nerlens Noel, Marvin Bagley, Bojan Bogdanovic, or instead of Marvin Bagley, let's go get Alec Burke, right? Get Bojan, Alec Burke, and Nerlens Noel. Boom, there you go. I think that makes us a contender. You get 2 elite three-point shooters. I mean, seriously, Alec Burke is shooting 45% from 3, and Bojan Bogdanovic is shooting, 42, 43% from 3, something like that. I would love that. But nonetheless, let's say this is the deal, and let's say this is something the Lakers don't have to give up any first. They take Tobias Harris, right? So starting with Tobias Harris, he's a sizable 6'7", 226 power forward, a guy that, he's averaging 16 points per game this season. He's a guy that can do multiple things defensively. There's always been questions about him, but he's just a solid, consistent 16-point-a-game guy, right? He's a guy that can come in and be a third option. He's already a third option on the Sixers. He could be a third option for the Lakers and just provide some consistency and some scoring, give us some more size, which would be nice. Although the problem is that LeBron James plays the 4, and LeBron is probably best suited at the 4 at this time, right? So do you move LeBron back to the 3? One of the reasons they're running Rui Hachimura at the 3 is so LeBron can stay at the 4 because Rui is best suited at the 4. So I love the idea of size, don't get me wrong, of course. And Tobias Harris, I don't think would be a bad fit at all. I think he's a guy that could come in and consistently give us 16 a game. He also this season is shooting 38% from 3. He's a career just under 37% three-point shooter. Good free throw shooter at 86.6%. Can get you, 6-7 rebounds a game, do a little playmaking. He's, got about 3 assists per game this season. And just, again, a very solid type player. I wouldn't mind him at all. I think that he could really add a lot to this Lakers team. But I would rather have Bojan Bogdanovic and say an Alec Burke or something. Yes, you don't have to give up anything in this deal based on how this is being reported. So you're essentially just getting Tobias Harris and Korkmaz essentially for free. We're just moving off of Russ. And then Tobias Harris next season, the idea is you'd have Tobias Harris and his expiring contract. And on top of that, you would have 3 first-round picks in the offseason. So maybe you could move Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris would probably have more value than Russell Westbrook. So you could trade Tobias Harris plus the 3 firsts, maybe go get a piece, maybe go get a solid player or two. Kyrie, right? There's all the talks of Kyrie in the offseason. Well, maybe you could take Tobias Harris and 2 first-round picks and go send those to Dallas, right? If they decide to move off of Kyrie or Kyrie wants to leave, right? Would they go, okay, well, we'll take Tobias Harris for a year and then kind of see what's available, see if maybe we can move him later, something like that. Maybe you could work something out in the offseason. Cool, that might be something. Or if something else arises, another player or something. There's lots of talks about Trae Young potentially wanting out in the offseason. Could you take, say Tobias Harris 3 firsts and like Max Christie or something, and send those guys to the Atlanta Hawks to get back some players, especially if John Collins ends up getting traded, right? Would Tobias Harris make sense for them at that point? Like, okay, Tobias Harris is still 30 years old, so he's not like super old. He's not like 34 or something like that. So there's still some value there. He's still a relatively young player in his prime. Give you a consistent 16 point per game, 3 style shooter, stretch big. That would be nice. That would be solid. I could see the maybe potential. Does Tobias Harris make us that much better? I don't know. I don't personally, I don't really think so. Because the third scoring option would be nice, but we need like closing type players. Although the 3-point shooting would be nice, right? Especially next to LeBron and AD, he could stretch the floor. I wouldn't hate it, right? And especially if we could, ideally, if we did this trade for no first round picks, right? It was just got Tobias Harris, we got Korkmaz. Okay, cool, perfect. I would love to then look and maybe take Patrick Beverley, Lonnie Walker, take those two and go. You got to go get Gary Trent, right? Because now you got that 3-level scorer. You got Tobias Harris. You got Rui now coming off the bench. You got Korkmaz, who we're going to talk about in a second here. I like that a lot better. But if it's just like, hey, we're going to do the Philly deal and that's it, I'm not very happy about that. I wouldn't be very confident. I'm excited. Let's go. Come on, Tobias Harris. At least we got something done. But it's not a move where I'm like, man, that makes us we're one of the top 3 teams in the West now. That's kind of how I feel about it. But moving on to Korkmaz, again, another just 6'7" guy. 3 points is what I was going to say. He's averaging 3 points per game right now. Got good size. Shooter, 3-and-D style is the idea, but he's kind of fallen out of the Sixers rotation. He's also a guy that has demanded a trade, which I think is kind of funny. But nonetheless, he's shooting 34% from 3 this year, not shooting too great. And it's not like he's an elite 3-point shooter. He only shoots 35% for his career. Again, a guy who's averaging basically 3 points per game. Granted, he's only averaging 10 minutes. So, he's averaging basically 1 3 per game. He is a guy that for his career has averaged 18 minutes and has given you just under 8 points. So basically double the production. He's kind of just like the add-on in my opinion. He's kind of just the additional piece. But still, I don't think, I like Korkmaz. If you could just get Korkmaz for whatever, Damian Jones or something like that, sure, take a flyer on him. Let's do that. I'm not against that at all, right? But to if he's the piece, that him and Tobias Harris, and I get Tobias Harris is the piece. Tobias Harris is the one that you're basically acquiring, and your hope is that you can turn Korkmaz into Sasha Vujic type guy. He's 25 years old, so he's still young, has potential, has some upside, get you a nice young piece, 3-and-D, good size, good length at 6'7", play the shooting guard, play the small forward. Maybe if you give him more production, maybe he could turn it around. Is it kind of a change of scenery thing, where he's not looking too good in Philly because he's not getting a lot of opportunity and he's not really happy there. And so maybe if he goes to a place where he's a little more happy, all of a sudden he steps up and he becomes a real viable option. Maybe that's something. This is, again, it's not my favorite trade. If there's more in the works, if you're doing this and then you're going and getting some other piece, sure. But I'd rather have the Jazz deal at that point. I'd rather have the Hornets deal. I mean, I might even argue I'd rather have the Spurs deal, right? Because you get a trade exception, you get Jakob Poeltl, you get. This is kind of at the bottom of the totem pole. Although this does seem like a trade the Lakers would do. Oh, we get Tobias Harris, 6'7", power forward that's averaging 16 points per game, 38% three-point shooter, could fit right next to LeBron and AD. There we go. Now we got our front court. We got Rui for the future. Right? Like, this is great. Right? I could see the Lakers looking at it like that. Also, Tobias Harris gives us some flexibility. Kyrie, does he end up leaving Dallas? Maybe we could get Kyrie in the offseason and move Tobias Harris, and then we still get to keep, our Rui Hachimura. Like, I guess it makes sense, but it's not something that I'm absolutely like, this is the play. This is it. Go get Tobias Harris, go get Korkmaz, and boom, we're off to the races. Now all of a sudden we're contending. I don't know. Maybe it works. Maybe it's great. I mean, if you could add a 16-point per game guy, that would be fine. But we still don't have a closer. And that's the problem, is somebody that can close. So if you could get these guys and then, like I said, go get a Gary Trent or something, or get some move. Or if you could find somebody that wants Tobias Harris more than Russ, right? Like, so maybe there's a team that's like, we don't want Russell Westbrook, but we'll take Tobias Harris. Like, Tobias Harris would be great. Like, we'll give you X, Y, and Z for Tobias Harris and, like, a first, right? Like, okay, cool. Like, let's do that. Like, that's something that could end up happening, right? Like, I don't know. Like, would the Jazz want Tobias Harris more than Russell? Because Russell Westbrook is just kind of like a salary dump. Would they look at it as like, hey, we'll take Tobias Harris in a first? Right? Like, we could use Tobias Harris as a vet for this team for the next, few 2 seasons or whatever. Or we could kind of figure out what we can move with them. We get a free Lakers first, and maybe they give us a similar package, right? Like, something like that. And then you kind of get Korkmaz as like the little add-on. I don't know. It's just like, I don't mind this. Again, if it's a free deal, you're basically just like, hey, Russell Westbrook for these two. Here you go. Tobias Harris is definitely a better fit, right? I don't think you'll really have to worry about Tobias Harris's fit. Korkmaz, 25 years old. Hopefully, maybe he can turn into something. You got kind of like a 3-and-D style, just wing that can play shooting guard, play small forward. If he can kind of get up, can he get up to 36, 37% with the Lakers? Maybe. He's shooting 34, 35%. Playing next to LeBron and AD and Tobias Harris, could he kind of, step up a little bit, step up a notch, knock down a couple threes, give us 3 or 4 threes consistently a night. Nothing too crazy. If he gets, say, 10 shot attempts, can he make, 4 of them? Like, I don't know. Is that something that could be viable? Again, not my favorite trade, not something. I don't even really think this is something that happened. I mean, I haven't seen anybody, as far as I know, anybody like super credible talk about this. Like, it just kind of seems to have stemmed from the doc post, and then, a couple news outlets and stuff have kind of picked it up and been like, oh, hey, what do you think about this? And then, of course, I've seen people like in the comments and chats and some of the live stream stuff asking my opinion on it. And, I just, again, nothing that really gets me pumped. It's not like a deal where I'm like, yes, like, let's go Tobias Harris, right? I like Tobias Harris. Don't get me wrong. He's absolutely solid. I would, like, if we were in a better position, right, I would love to get Tobias Harris. I would be all for it, right? Like, if we had, like, say we had Gary Trent already, right? And it was like, hey, let's say today we make a trade for Gary Trent, right? I would be like, okay, go get Tobias Harris and Korkmaz. Why not? Or if we got let's say we did end up landing Kyrie, right? And we, and let's say we worked it out somehow, and it was like, oh, well, you could still go get Tobias Harris. Like, sure, go get Tobias Harris, right? Like, if Tobias Harris was like, oh, we got this and Tobias Harris, then now I'm a little excited. If it's like, hey, we got Gary Trent and Tobias Harris, I'd be like, okay, cool. Right? What do we have to give up for Tobias Harris? Nothing. You didn't have to give up any picks. You even got Korkmaz added to it. I'd be like, cool. That sounds like a great move for me. We still have, what did we trade for, Gary Trent? Oh, we traded 1 first, Patrick Beverley, Lonnie Walker. So you're telling me we got Tobias Harris's expiring contract next season, and we got a first, and then we have our first for once the off season begins. So we got 2 firsts in Tobias Harris. Cool. So we can make other moves if we need to. Right? That opens the door for other acquisitions maybe for next season if we need any upgrades or anything. Right? Like, I'm all for that. But Tobias Harris, like, yes, it'd be nice to have a vet that's been there, done that, has consistency. Uh, you know, I just I don't know. Like, you have Rui. Rui's averaging 3 less points a game than Tobias Harris, and I just think Rui's bigger. He's a little taller. Can play the 3. Can keep LeBron at the 4. I mean, Rui's not the best at the 3. He's best at the 4 because he just doesn't have the foot speed to stick with most threes. But still, like, I don't know. I like the idea of Rui. That mid range is better. I wish that they would run more plays for Rui. But Tobias Harris, from a 3-point perspective, he's a better 3-point shooter. So it's like, okay, well, I see it. I just don't love it. But anyway, again, love to hear your thoughts and opinions as always. What do you think? Is this something you would do? Is this something you wouldn't? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. Let me know down in the comment section below.